Citizens of the Capitol, you are listening to the Capitol Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Darnell Mitchell and Dustin Smothers. This week, Darnell and Dustin discuss episode 44 of Capitol Wrestling Television, featuring the historic World War IV match for Capitol supremacy between Team Capitol and the Bastards. They're also previewing this Saturday night's landmark event, Masterclass, from the Capitol Auditorium in Hoboken, New Jersey, featuring two huge title matches, including the Bald Bastard, Ken Dixon, defending the Capitol Wrestling title against Eric Royal. Dustin also sits down with rising star and Black and Brave graduate Jah-C, who wowed the citizens of Capitol in the Black and Brave Showcase last December in Hoboken. Now, without any further ado, let's start the show.
Citizens of Capitol, rejoice! The Capitol Wrestling Podcast is back. I'm your brand new host, the metal mouth of Midwest Wrestling, Dustin Smothers. Yes, the Midwest is here to talk Capitol. Trust me, you'll get it before the show is over. I am joined by my co-host on the Pro Wrestling Mothership, the fabulous fashionista of Brooklyn, New York, Darnell Mitchell. Darnell, it's a new era here. There is a under new management sign on the door. We are taking over the Capitol Wrestling Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and clearly I'm going through puberty because of my voice. I'm doing fantastic. I'm super excited. I'm very excited to be starting this venture with you. This is an incredible week, so I couldn't ask for anything else.
It's going to be a wild ride, and obviously throughout the show here, we're gonna get to how a guy from Iowa and a guy from Brooklyn, New York got together and how we're doing this podcast. But I wanted to start the show. I felt like it would be appropriate to talk a little bit about ourselves and talk about how we got into professional wrestling a little bit and how we ended up here. I've been a lifelong fan. My first memory, Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 6, seeing the bright colors, the pomp and circumstance. It captivated me, and it's something that I haven't been able to give up since a few times even throughout college. I thought I tried for a little bit, but wrestling pulls me back in, and it's a love of mine that is here to stay. It's brought me some amazing friends, present company included in that, Darnell. We met in San Jose at WrestleMania weekend in 2015, and I felt like I've known you my whole life.
I know, I'm sure it's a great feeling for you. It's so funny how many people that you meet over just a weekend for WrestleMania weekend. It's one of the reasons why it's the best weekends in the world. I started watching wrestling now 22 years ago. I think like last week it was 22 years ago. My stepfather said, "Hey, we're going to this person's house and we're going to watch wrestling," and the first thing I remembered was seeing The Undertaker and being like, hey, it's like a comic book character, and just being kind of blown away for it. I think a lot of my fascination with it is sort of the over-the-top drama, which is amazing. Being a member of the LGBTQ plus community, it was just kind of cool to see theater and acrobats and glitter and spandex galore, and hey, I haven't left since.
Well, and it all ties into why we're both a fan of Capitol Wrestling and why we were so excited to hop at the opportunity to take over this podcast, these podcasting responsibilities. For those listening, you may be wondering if you're a New York, New Jersey fan and you're saying, okay, this all makes sense. We understand why Darnell's here. The Black and Brave connection is what brings me here and how this all kind of spanned together, because Darnell turned me on to Capitol, some Black and Brave graduates, Jah-C, Travis Titan, obviously the rock god Ronnie Burton from Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, trained by Seth Rollins and Merrick Brave. Will be joined by Jah-C later in the show just to kind of give even more of a spotlight to that connection this week. But Darnell, I'm ready to do this. I think we're both very excited. We're both ready for this opportunity, and I say let's hit the ground running if you're ready.
I'm ready if you're ready.
Well, we jumped in this week with a hell of a show. Episode 44 of Capitol Wrestling Television on YouTube. Make sure you go follow the YouTube right now so you get all of this amazing content. We were treated to one of the main events of World War IV, the Twitch show that we threw a party here in Iowa. You were there live last December, right at the end of 2017. We got the World War IV Team Capitol versus the Bastards this week on Capitol Wrestling Television. And Darnell, before we even get into talking about this, I was such a fan of the way this show started. I wanted to pay homage to Matthew Ryan Shapiro and play this amazing promo he had at the beginning of the show. And we'll be right back to discuss the match.
Citizens of the Capitol, the state of the Capitol is chaos. And as I speak to you on Friday night, December 29th, in the year of our Lord 2017, tonight is the beginning, the end, the Alpha, and the Omega of Capitol Wrestling. Tonight, championships will be put on the line. Brotherhoods will be tested. Tonight, we battle in the bastion of the Bastards. Sonny Kiss will be grabbed from the sky and driven 6 feet deep into an unmarked grave. The Perfect Strangers and Sex Craze will try to prove that they are the alpha team in Capitol Wrestling. But you know the truth, citizens. There is no need to run or hide. There is no need to duck under a schoolroom table. Tonight, if you fly the flag of the Bastards high, you will be prepared. Tonight, there are no unknown soldiers. Tonight, this bastard will push the button. Tonight, these bastards will make a statement. Tonight, we go to war! Tonight, we push the button! Tonight, it is World War IV!
All right. Hell of a promo, wouldn't you say, Darnell?
Matthew is as much of a dastardly man he is in the way he controls Capitol Wrestling. He is incredible at what he does.
He truly is. He's a very special individual and a guy that I think everybody should be taking notice of. He's making waves with what is going on right now in Capitol. World War IV, though, insane match. We had Team Capitol versus the Bastards. This was about Capitol supremacy, Darnell, and you were there live for this match. What was the atmosphere in the building that night?
So much fun. This was my second Capitol Wrestling show. I was there with the creator, one of the artists who actually drew the images for the show, Matthew Shapiro and Sonny Kiss. Art by Earl, that's E-R-L-E. He was at the show with me, and Renice, who I actually met Matthew through, was there as well. Everyone was just sort of gung-ho. Everyone was super, super excited. I love the atmosphere for Capitol Wrestling, so it was incredible to be there.
Well, Darnell, you were there live in person. I've just seen it on television, so I'd feel remiss if I attempted to kind of take the lead on walking us through this match. But I will say this. I watched the Twitch stream, and then I watched the YouTube presentation this week. The production value of what Capitol Wrestling puts together on display big time. The camera cuts, everything just so smooth. I really, really enjoyed the YouTube presentation of this match.
I did too. Rewatching it, especially this week, it's always a little bit different when you're there live and then when you see it back on video. And one of the coolest things I think, Matthew brought this opportunity for us to host it in Iowa as well, is for a company that is still relatively new. They've been around for about a year, and a company that has just now venturing into streaming efforts. It was a flawless feed.
It was.
It's incredible. I can't even walk my dog without tripping over myself, so I don't understand how they're able to stream this flawlessly. It was just incredible. It was a sight to behold.
Darnell, let's walk through this match. I mean, there was so much on the line here, just kind of the balance of power in Capitol, and the citizens of Capitol were stoked for this match. If I recall there, the opening, the first 2 men out, what were the rules, I guess, of World War IV? I know that it was sort of like war games.
sort of like War Games. Just I forget the actual time limit that it was for everyone to come out. It was just one by one, but it was by random. So either team could have been dominating through the bit. At the last show back in October, I believe it was confirmed by Marcus, basically almost like GM in a way of Capitol Wrestling, that he would be having Matthew Shapiro on the match. So I think we were all waiting in anticipation to see Matthew get what he deserves. But starting it off with Matt Sells, who is one of the most enjoyable, fun, throwback people out there, who also loves Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So there's there's nothing but positivity. Was a great way to start the match, I believe. And then Sizzling Stan Styles, who I've never seen anyone work a shake weight so well.
The mastery of the shake weight is something to behold. He almost gives Pee Wee Herman a run for his money.
It's amazing. His arms, I get a little bit jealous when I see him. Get a little bit jealous when I see him.
His forearms are huge.
I wish he would eat more pizza. It would make me feel a little bit more better about myself.
I gotta tell you, one of my favorite things about Styles is he hits the ring and has like 4 different pairs of pants on, just starts ripping them off one after another. And when was it gonna stop? I don't know. He may be on the wrong side of things in this battle, but Stan Styles, man, very, very entertaining.
He's like a Russian doll that just keeps taking off outfits.
These guys went at it. I mean, we saw a battle of the shake weight versus a kendo stick at one point during this opening portion of the match. I really enjoyed the back and forth between Styles, between Sells.
Absolutely. I think it was the smartest choice for them to start off, and I think they started the show off right. Especially 3 hours into a show, give me some kendo sticks and shake weights. That's the way to start it.
Who was out next?
It was actually Andros the Greek, who, if memory serves me correct, it was actually his debut at Capitol Wrestling. Capitol Wrestling always does a very, very good job of sort of scouring the world to find the best talent that they can, and the best talent that they can put on the screen. And I think Andros really, really delivered here.
He really did. He was very impressive. I didn't know that this was his debut until right now when you're telling me this. And if that's the case, I say bring him back.
Absolutely. I also say, please, no one sort of spell check that me or truth check that for me, because pretty sure I'm right. But it's
hey, if not, that's an alternative fact. It's fine. These are my favorite kind of matches, and when you have this, you never know who's coming out, sort of that mix of the Royal Rumble feeling, or you have the old, as we mentioned, War Games. I love the spin that Capitol took on this. One thing that absolutely I think needs to be said about this match is the way everything throughout the evening was sold, how the future of Capitol hindered on this. And I by the time this match was ready to go that night on the Twitch stream, I was at a fever pitch to see what was going to happen, because I didn't know. This could have been anybody's match. Darnell, what else went down?
I want to say it definitely did live up to its name of World War IV. You felt like the stakes were there. It was like watching Infinity War from the Avengers. You were just kind of like, this is what it's culminating. The next person to come out was Mick Drake from Team Bastard. So we kind of even everything is out 2-on-2. And then actually one of my favorite people, Marcus Marquis, came out next after that. I think this is when it starts to kind of break down and everyone is going everywhere throughout the outside of the ring. It's just hectic. How was it in Iowa? How was the crowd responding to seeing this awesome match?
We had a good little crowd there at Cal's Fine Food and Spirits. Got to shout them out. And the fans were really into this. I think it just speaks volumes for the match type. I think that's just an easy sell whenever you have this sort of you get that numbers game. A team can have the numbers advantage, which was happening for Team Capitol on several occasions. They had the numbers advantage, and that really gets the crowd invested. And then you have that cool down when the guy comes out, and then you've got evened up the odds, and maybe the other team can take advantage. But people were stoked, and I'll tell you, Sonny Kiss, when we get to him later on, so over in Iowa. People loved Sonny Kiss. Absolutely, the word was, to me was, if this guy's on the screen, we want to watch. And so Capitol has a star right there in the making for sure.
Absolutely. Capitol also has another star. It was the next person that came out, who's Paul Jourdain. He kind of reminds me of kind of Mike Awesome. He's a great look, sort of great physicality. He, unfortunately, is part of Team Bastard, but nonetheless, you are drawn to this 6'6" specimen of a human being who kind of cleared the ring and took care of everything. I do highly recommend you guys, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Twitch, and you could see him and Sonny Kiss had a great battle a couple of months ago, and I highly, highly recommend that match. He is someone to look out for 100%.
Well, and I think there's a reason that he's called the End Game. And there's a reason Matthew Ryan Shapiro has put pretty much everything behind Paul Jourdain right now. Paul Jourdain is a guy, he's got imposing size, he's got imposing strength, he's got the look. He's the total package. And with a mouthpiece like Matthew Ryan Shapiro behind him, the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. You can call Matthew whatever you want, but if there's one thing that man isn't, and he's smart. He knows exactly what he's doing. He has the Capitol Wrestling Champion. He has the Tag Team Champions under his belt. Like, Matthew knows what's going on. Unfortunately, the next combatant did not make it. It was supposed to be Smiley, which there had been rumblings whether or not he was going to actually attend the show, and I was very excited to see him. And instead, we got Matthew Ryan Shapiro wearing the shortest shorts.
He did.
By the way.
I did love his shirt. You got to love a guy that will absolutely take any opportunity to shamelessly plug his merchandise or his apparel. So I love that. This was, I'm going to make the comparison, and I think, call me crazy, but I just get such a strong, obviously Matthew grew up watching Paul Heyman. And it shows in the way he carries himself, in the confidence he exudes when he has no business having that confidence at that moment. And I'll give him all the credit in the world. He got in there and he took his licks in this World War IV match. Not sure he'll be the same, though. But this was interesting, and I was really happy to see Matthew get in there.
I was, too. I think it takes a lot for a manager to actually walk the walk instead of just talk the talk. And he went in there and he took the licks from the hands of the next combatant, who of course was Portia Vaughn, who beat him like a government mule. It was glorious, to say the least.
Oh, absolutely. He was squealing to get out of there at one point. I'm interested in my introduction to Capitol came just a few months ago, and so I'm kind of I'm getting the pieces together here, and I'm really interested to learn more about Portia and what her position and where she fits into the company here.
Yeah, she's there's not many women that are in Capitol Wrestling, but goodness gracious, you are automatically drawn to Portia. I think she has incredible charisma. And everyone, how can you also not like her? She beat up Matthew Ryan. What's the negative? Then we had our last two combatants come out. It was Smooth Blackman, followed by the one and only Sonny Kiss. I don't have the words to describe how amazing Sonny Kiss is. He is one of a kind, and that is the main attraction. Sorry, Ken Dixon. That is the main attraction. He is unbelievable.
I think that in a world where we have so many people who kind of adhere to the same style in professional wrestling, adhere to the same mentality, to have Sonny Kiss on your roster is probably one of the one of the top blue chippers out there. I think Sonny Kiss 2018, I think you're going to see Sonny Kiss all over the independents, and I think Capitol Wrestling will probably have a new champion at some point. I'm going to go on a limb. Our first day on the podcast, I'm going to predict Sonny Kiss is probably going to be the Capitol Wrestling champion before the end of the year.
I agree 100%. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the look. I think he has the butt. I think he has everything that company would want in a champion, and I think he can defeat Ken Dixon. You said earlier that Iowa was kind of enthralled with Sonny Kiss. How was the response for the people that were watching it live?
Just absolutely excitement. I mean, when he came out and started taking things under control, they were popping for him, and the biggest reaction, without question, came at the end of the match when Sonny Kiss laid out Matthew Ryan Shapiro for the victory here. Everybody was happy. This was I think it's one of those moments, there was shock. I think people weren't expecting Sonny Kiss, you know what I mean? Like, I think you can hear about Sonny Kiss, but until you see Sonny Kiss, you don't really understand the full experience. And I think that's the key here, is everyone, like, said to me on the way out, they wanted to come back and watch more Capitol to see more Sonny Kiss. So, it's going to be, I'm sure Matthew Ryan Shapiro will try to kick and scream his way out of making sure Sonny doesn't end up with that championship, but I think it's kind of a case of it's just too much of a force of nature behind this situation. I think Sonny Kiss is drawn to that championship, and the championship is drawn to Sonny Kiss.
I agree, and I think the most important thing about him is that he's effortless. Everything he does is effortless, and that's what wrestling is. It is a sight to behold 100%. It was a great night. It was a good fun wrestling. That's amazing. That's what you want. And in New York City, we get a lot of great opportunities to see a lot of great companies, from House of Glory Wrestling to Evolve. But I'm telling you, some of the most amazing fun I've ever had has been in Hoboken. I mean, I'm traveling to Hoboken. Like, that's already telling you enough about my love for Capitol Wrestling.
A couple other things on this week's show. We saw a backstage segment with Marcus Dowling, and I didn't get the one person's name, but I believe it was Kit Osborne there. Darnell, what's the situation there? Is Kit Osborne trying to get an opportunity with Capitol? What's going on there?
He did wrestle at that show. He wrestled at the World War IV on December 29th. It was the first time I had ever saw him, actually. I'd heard a couple of great things, surprisingly, from people in Iowa. And he really, really impressed me. I actually ended up getting one of his shirts to support him. He will be at the next show this Saturday, so I'm very excited to see more from him. He's one to look out for as well.
Well, let's keep things moving along here. Let's get right into it. We're going to talk Masterclass coming up this Saturday night after a brief message from the management at Capitol Wrestling.
Citizens of the Capitol, join us Saturday night, February 10th at the Capitol Auditorium in Hoboken as Capitol Wrestling presents Masterclass. Matthew Ryan Shapiro's Endgame Paul Jourdain takes on the Extreme Redneck. An open opportunity fatal four-way featuring Kit Osborne, KTB, Matt McIntosh, and Joe Keys. And the heavyweight division is on display as the Master of Excellence goes one-on-one with the last to die, Jeff Cannonball. Also in action, we shall see not one, but two titles defended. First, the Capitol Wrestling Sapphire Television Champion and #1 contender to the Capitol Wrestling Heavyweight title, the Colossal Mike Law, looks to retain the coveted title as he takes on the National Wrestling Alliance's very own Memfo Mofo. Will the Mofo bring home the gold to the NRA, or will Mike Law walk into Anniversary with a chance to become a double champion? And the bald bastard himself, Ken Dixon, looks to continue his history of championship violence as he takes on Eric Royal in a battle for the Capitol Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. Saturday night, February 10th at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, it's Capitol Wrestling presents Masterclass. For tickets and more information, go to CapitolWrestling.com.
All right, everybody, we're back in Darnell Masterclass. It's going to be your birthday this weekend, so if you're out at the show, make sure you buy Darnell a drink or four. So happy early birthday to you, buddy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my birthday on Saturday, actually. And I get to celebrate it by watching wrestling and watching Capitol Wrestling. So it's going to be very, very exciting. I'm very excited about it.
Well, Masterclass is going down this Saturday night. It is at 7 p.m. at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, New Jersey. Tickets available at CapitolWrestling.com. If you head over there right now, you can get those. Darnell, let's jump right into this card. We're going to see Sizzlin' Stan Styles, the master of that shake weight. He's going to be taking on the Psycho Superman Smiley. Darnell, what are your thoughts on this match?
I love Smiley. I've seen Smiley wrestle for years, and as much as the shake weight impresses me, I've got to root for Smiley. He's such a fan favorite. Such a fan favorite. So enticing to watch in the ring. Great high flyer. However, Stan Smiles will be coming to the ring with Portia Vaughn, so I wonder how much she's going to play in the final decision of that match, or if she's just going to be on the side. But Portia, she's not one to just stand there and be pretty. I think that Stan Styles is going to utilize her as much as possible.
Well, I don't think you bring somebody to the ring with you if you don't plan on them helping you secure the victory. I got to go with you on this one. I've not seen a whole lot of Smiling. Stan Styles impressed me at World War IV, so I'm going to go with him. Next up, we have the Capitol Wrestling Sapphire Television title on the line. The champion, Colossal Mike Law, defending the title against the Mempho Mofo. I'm not sure I know the Mempho Mofo. Mike Law, though, extremely impressive.
Extremely impressive. I've also seen him wrestle in House of Glory Wrestling. I'm not sure I know much about the Memphis Mofo, too, but I'm excited to see what he's going to bring. I have to go with the Capitol Wrestling Sapphire champion, though. Mike Law has been on a roll lately, and I don't think that roll stops just yet. I think that Memphis Mofo he's here to make an impression, and I think he's going to take Mike Law to the limit. But I see Mike Law retaining.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly there. Is there a better-looking championship in wrestling than the Sapphire Television Championship?
It's beautiful. They have great drinks as well. So there's so many. I went there for my birthday, actually. Oh, look at that. It's almost like a full circle.
Yeah, life is just coming together right now.
Oh, it's the little things.
So afties at Sapphire following Capitol Wrestling, I'm sure. We have an open opportunity fatal four-way on Saturday night. Kit Osborne versus KTB versus Matt McIntosh versus Joe Keys. Obviously, four extremely hungry individuals looking for an opportunity with Capitol Wrestling. Darnell, I'm going to give you the lead here because a lot of these guys I'm just getting familiar with. Are you familiar with any of them?
Of course. I love so much, even though he is dastardly and full of tomfoolery, Matt McIntosh, the Bad Apple. He is incredible, enticing to watch in the ring. He is one that always takes advantage of any and every single opportunity he can get. I am very, very excited to see this match. This is probably actually the match I'm most sort of anticipating out of all of them, to be honest. Kid Osborne again is going to come impress. Joe Keys, have seen him wrestle a couple of times for Capitol Wrestling, so he's going to be very, very exciting. So have you seen Kid Osborne wrestle in the Midwest? No,
I have not. I must be late to this party.
Ooh, the party's already started.
I better get there.
Get there. Grab a coat. I'm telling you, this is going to be insane. This is going to be everyone kind of going everywhere. And I think that all four of these gentlemen are going to show the hunger and the passion that the wrestlers at Capitol Wrestling have. But again, I can't. Matt McIntosh, he's the one to watch. Love that guy.
I'll follow your lead. I'll take Matt McIntosh in this one. Matthew Ryan Shapiro. He will be in Hoboken Saturday night with his endgame, Paul Jourdain, who's taking on the Extreme Redneck. And I'm sure thinking, I'm from Iowa, so I'm probably picking the Extreme Redneck, and you might be right in some circles, but no, Paul Jourdain impressed the hell out of me at World War IV. With Matthew Ryan Shapiro behind him, I'm all in. There's no way Extreme Redneck stands a chance on Saturday night.
And not that they are not impressive wrestlers in their own right, but Paul Jourdain he is a beast. He's the beast incarnate. He is the end game. And there's, again, like we said earlier, there's a reason Matthew is supporting him. I think Paul Jourdain is going to absolutely trample Extreme Redneck. So it might be a little bit uncomfortable to watch, to be honest.
If anybody in New York or New Jersey could do me a favor, though, seeing as how I am from the Midwest, I do want to lend an olive branch out to the Extreme Redneck. Can somebody bring him a case of Busch Light? Because that's what we like. That's what we like to drink out here. So if somebody could get him a case of Busch Light after the show, he's probably going to need at least 18 or 24 of those Busch Lights to take off to take the edge off after Paul Jourdain, as you said, runs straight over him on Saturday night. The heavyweight division is going to be on display on Saturday night. The Master of Excellence battles to last to die, Jeff Cannonball. Darnell.
I think they're going to need to reinforce the ring because this is going to be insane. Jeff Cannonball is incredible and just a big that's a big old pile of man that, again, just like Paul Jourdain, is just going to go crazy in the ring. The heavyweight division, from Master of Excellence, from Juba, it's insane in Capitol Wrestling. But I've got to go for they don't call him the last to die for anything. Jeff Cannonball. I think he's going to take this, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a hard-hitting fight. I
think this is the perfect opportunity to use the term Haas fight. I think this one is going to spill all over the building. When you look at these guys on paper, you're in for a treat. And I hope they both bring their working boots on Saturday night, because I think they're both going to have to earn this victory against one another. I'll be contrarian. I'm going to go with the Master of Excellence on this one solely because that's an awesome name. And
sure.
I challenge
you can be wrong. It's okay.
I challenge anyone else on the independent scene to have the balls to call themselves the Master of Excellence.
Yeah, that's he's also Master of Humility, being helpful.
It sounds like a supervillain name. Like, the Avengers are on their way to battle the Master of Excellence.
he's the final boss after the little sub-boss in the video game.
He's probably hanging out with Skeletor after the show or something like that. Well, last but certainly not least, actually, before we talk about the main event, they are advertising that a hot dog will take on a CPA on Saturday night.
I wish there were also hot dogs there. Actually, I will give that to Capitol Wrestling. The first visit, they had, I know this is we're going off topic, but they had incredible teriyaki sort of sliders and pulled pork sliders. I was pleasantly surprised. I was introduced to Hot Dog at the last show. He was in, I believe it was an 8-man tag, where he was tagging with Kit Osborne, if memory serves me correct. I'm old. I'm about to be 32. Please don't be mad at me. But he was a joy in all his relish, mustard, and ketchup. So I'm down to see this.
Well, and I do want to also point out, Capitol did announce a few weeks ago that they are bringing more products than ever before to Capitol concessions, including Montauk Iced Tea, Brooklyn Soda, and I can vouch for this one, Sioux City Soda. There's no better sarsaparilla than a Sioux City sarsaparilla, Darnell.
I don't know what that means. What is a sarsaparilla?
I tip my hat to the dude. It's a Big Lebowski reference. I got nothing else. I have had a Sioux City sarsaparilla. They're delicious. They also have great root beers and cream sodas as well. So,
cream soda. Ooh. Oh,
Who doesn't want a cream soda? Okay, Darnell, main event time. Masterclass this Saturday night. Your birthday. The bald bastard, Ken Dixon, defends against Eric Royal. I'll tell you, Ken Dixon is one of the most impressive independent stars out there right now. If you do not, if you're listening to this, I hope you know who Ken Dixon is. If you're joining us because of the connection to Iowa or the mothership and you're hearing this for the first time, Ken Dixon is a guy you want to take notice of.
Unfortunately, yes. He might not go about things the way that I wish he did. He might not really deserve that belt. But the guy is a complete monster in the ring. And he is... You are drawn to him immediately. I really, really love Eric Royal. I think that he's great up-and-comer. I think that he is flashy. I think that he is smart in the ring. I think that his singlet is awesome, by the way. I love a good color block. But Ken Dixon is just... He's on a roll. He's on a roll, and he's not afraid to take shortcuts. He's not afraid to do what he needs to do to make sure he retains that championship.
There's no reason for me not to pick Ken Dixon on Saturday night. And like I mentioned earlier, I think he will stand atop the heap in the Capitol until Sonny Kiss climbs that mountain and takes that belt from him. And I think that's going to be just an amazing situation. Whenever that does happen, it's going to be as good, if anything, that Capitol does. Everything is great that Capitol does. I can't stress enough how awesome this company is and how they're giving wrestlers. I think the key here is, and the thing I want to get across to anybody who's a new listener or new to Capitol Wrestling, is you can tell they give opportunities to wrestlers that deserve opportunities. And that, to me, is a company worth being a part of and paying money to see.
Absolutely. What was it? So 2 shows. I've been to 2 shows, and I've seen some of the same wrestlers, but new people each time. That's how I actually was introduced to Cole Radrick, who was an incredible wrestler. Trained out of Iowa, trained by Sammy Callahan, is that correct?
Yep, they're Dayton, Ohio.
Dave Chris.
Yeah, out of Dayton, Ohio.
Ohio.
The Ohio is for Killers Camp. Yep.
Exactly, and he was just a joy in life and also in wrestling. I think a lot of wrestling companies tend to sort of rely on the same people over and over and over, and Capitol Wrestling is all about keeping your interest but bringing in new people. They want you to be aware of who the new prospects are in wrestling. They want you to be aware, hey, this is the guy you should be watching. They want you to be aware, hey, this is, the tag team that is actually killing it on the independents, and you need to know about it. And I think that's amazing. Actually, I realized something that we did forget to mention. Danger Sanctuary and Nyla Rose. Sorry, Danger Sanctuary versus Nyla Rose and Rump Thump. Nyla Rose is an incredible find. She will rip your head off. There's no nice way to put that. She is one of the most intimidating people they have in Capitol Wrestling. So I also can't wait to see Nyla Rose wipe the floor with these men.
Yeah, actually, yep. Thank you, Darnell. I was looking at that is on the poster, not on the event listing. So yes, awesome. Like, just an amazing evening of matches. Masterclass. That's at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, New Jersey. This Saturday night. Show starts at 7, so make sure you get there early. Like I said, it's Darnell's birthday. Make sure you get there to celebrate him. Darnell, you had a perfect segue, but I also wanted to get in one last plug for where the event was. You mentioned Capitol brings in talent that they want people to see are the next guys. That kind of brings us full circle here back to my involvement. I'm out here in Iowa, based out of Story City, Iowa here, just north of Des Moines. We've got Black and Brave Wrestling Academy out here, run by Seth Rollins and Merrick Brave. A lot of amazing talents coming out of Black and Brave. One of those talents being Jah-C. Jah-C's had a pair of matches in Capitol. He was out there this past August, I believe it was, and then he was part of the Black and Brave Showcase, teaming with Travis Titan, taking on Eddie Machete and Xander Killen in the very first match on the Twitch stream that night. Just a historic evening, and it was so cool to see that Iowa connection. And Darnell, you got the opportunity to see Jah in the ring for the first time, but you obviously being a part of the Pro Wrestling Iowa network that I'm a part of, and obviously Pro Wrestling Mothership, our podcast every Friday at ProWrestlingIowa.net, you've interacted with Jah-C a little bit, but how was it being able to actually see him in person?
It was incredible. It was incredible to see all four of them. I believe Xander Killian I had met before at Mania, so it was nice to have some sort of relationship or camaraderie with these gentlemen. And when they came out, they were all very pleasant to me. Eddie Machete, he said I was ugly. I will hold him to that.
Heel's got a heel, baby.
Exactly, but Jah-C is a delight to watch, and he also has a 6-star booty, just like his partner DJ Energy. So it was incredible to watch him and to also hold his bandana while he wrestled in the ring.
There you go. Well, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the interview I conducted with Jah-C earlier today, and then Darnell and I will be back to sign off this week and kind of look back on how we feel the first show went. We'll be back in a little bit. Enjoy this interview with Jah-C! All right, everybody, it is Dustin Smothers. I am here with our very first guest on, I guess it's Capitol Wrestling Podcast 2.0, and I wanted to have my first guest on this era of the Capitol Podcast explain a little bit why there is this Iowa connection, and I have got a guy I consider a personal friend, a guy who, if you don't know now, I think by the end of this interview you're going to be a huge fan of his. I am talking about none other than Jah-C. He's one half of an amazing tag team here in Iowa called Vicious and Delicious, but you have made waves out in Hoboken yourself, my friend. How are we doing?
I'm fantastic, man. I'm living, I'm wheeling, dealing, sex appealing, you know.
Hey.
Trying to stay fly like you, guys.
Well, I appreciate you putting me in the same air as you. You are definitely out there killing it week in and week out. I know you're making waves, the Funky Monkey, obviously here in Iowa at SCW. But let's get right into it. How did the Black and Brave connection with Capitol Wrestling start? Obviously, I assume Ronnie Burton had a role in that, but I know you and some of those guys made a trip out there last summer, correct?
Yeah, man, you hit the nail right on the head. Our good buddy, the rock guy, Ronnie Burton, he's actually originally from New York out there, and I believe that's like the first promotion that he got on with after graduation, and their production value is tremendous. They've got an awesome crop of guys in the backstage area, you know, that help to put together the show, you know, every month, and it was that, you know, it was Ronnie Burton wanting to contribute how he could to the growth of that company and introducing that company into new talent, and he found that talent in a few other Black and Brave guys, myself, Joe Acer, who's Joe Acer on any social media, Xander Killen, Eddie Machete, and also Travis Titan. We've all been out there. While I'm at it, Sage Kanan also. Originally, the first trip was I actually got to tag team with Sage Kanan against Xander Killen and Joe Acer. Mm-hmm. So how about that one for a curveball, right?
Right.
I'm back to Sage Kanan.
Absolutely, yeah.
Man.
Our Iowa listeners know you've got a very heated rivalry going on here locally. You've TLC matches, ladder matches, you name it. Yourself and your partner JT Energy have traded the SCW tag titles back and forth with Sage Kanan and his partner Dante Leone. The last time the citizens of Capitol would have seen you would have been at the World War IV show. They did a Black and Brave showcase match where you teamed with Travis Titan against Eddie Machete and Xander Killen. What was that like for you to be? It's essentially an pay-per-view, and you know you're what,
Dude,
a year and a half in the business.
Honestly, yeah, it was absolutely tremendous. You think about it, we were the first match ever for the live broadcast for Capitol Pro Wrestling from Hoboken to be broadcast throughout on Twitch. That's a really good, a really awesome medal to have to wear on my shoulder. We got to open up the show, set the pace, and we did pretty dang good,
Absolutely. What can you tell us, I guess, obviously the fans in New Jersey, New York, they know what Capitol's about, but for some of our Iowa listeners right now who may not have seen that Twitch show, who may, hopefully this connection with myself and Darnell via Capitol Wrestling helps expose more people in the Midwest to Capitol Wrestling, what would you say to somebody to sell them on why they need to check out Capitol Wrestling right now?
Again, man, I have to throw to the production value, which is second to none. The guys that put together that show work so hard to make sure that the product that's presented is something that's beyond acceptable. They make sure that the entrance videos for the guys, the entrance music is all original. They've got original characters. One of my favorite actual talents that Capitol has is Sonny Kiss. God dang, he's good.
Yeah.
It's good. And they've got talent like that. All the talent in the backstage that put together that show, they've all got that same hunger that Sonny Kiss, that Ronnie Burton I know has, to put together the best show and to work their asses off to make sure that everyone wants to come back to Hoboken or come to the Capitol, as we were told to say so many times for that promotion video. It's an honor to be a part of the growth of a new company like Capitol Pro, and I'm just thankful, man. I'm a small spoke on the wheel.
Hey, and I think 2018, I hope to see that. Excuse me. I hope to see that Black and Brave connection continue to be an even bigger part of the Capitol. Jah-C, let's kind of take a swerve here. Let's jump back. Obviously, Black and Brave. Had you done any training in professional wrestling prior to arriving in Davenport?
No, sir. No, sir. I came down here on January 7th, I believe it was, my first day of practice, and that was the first time I ever did anything remotely close to professional wrestling, aside from, putting together WrestleMania caliber matches in my mom's living room with my little brother and stuff. But, coming down to Davenport, leaving everything in Minneapolis to give this a shot, that was the first thing that I've ever done in pro wrestling.
What were you doing before this?
Dude, I was in college, actually. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Believe it or not, I was actually going to school for kinesiology and physical education. I wanted to be a gym teacher and eventually move on to becoming a strength and conditioning coach. But I can't remember a time, honestly, when I didn't want to be a pro wrestler. And even when I was in college on the day-to-day, I was sitting in the lab room, all I wanted to do was get off work get off of school so I could go to work to earn money to pay for the training and everything for it. And honestly, one day I just got sick of it. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in chemistry, and I just got sick of being in chemistry. I was ready to wrestle. I knew I was going to. It was just a matter of when, and I just figured, why not now? So.
Was it always Black and Brave? I mean, was that the spark?
No, dude. No, actually, I was looking at a few different schools, and I was ready to pull the trigger on Lance Storm School up there in Canada, but Black and Brave, that's actually a funny story in and of itself. I know I've covered it on the podcast, how I got introduced to Black and Brave, but that might be so much time.
Sure.
But, long story short, a mutual friend between myself and the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy came into my bar one day, told me about the school. He happened to be going the January prior to when I actually was accepted to the school. And, a year later, I was down here doing the same thing he was doing the year prior. And it's an awesome fit. I can't beat it.
I think you're doing a great job here locally, that's for sure. I guess this might be kind of a silly question, but if anybody's listening, and a lot of our listeners may have already heard some of these stories, but I'm hoping the people of Capitol, the citizens of Capitol, will be listening, and I want them to kind of get this whole Jah-C story, because I know a lot about you, and I know how hard you work, and I want to kind of convey that today. What was it like for you walking into the Black and Brave Academy first time, meeting Seth, meeting Merrick, and just, was it surreal, or were you just laser focused and ready to go to work?
I was pretty laser focused and ready to go to work, man. I really ain't got time to be starstruck. There's very few people that do starstrike me, if you will. But I was excited, more than anything, because what meeting Seth and Merrick meant was I was one step closer to doing exactly what I've wanted to do since I was, if I had to throw a number on it, 9 years old. It just seeing them and seeing that, well, damn, I'm here. I'm doing it. I've always said I wanted to do it, and now I'm doing it. And to be surrounded by so many guys that are motivated to make this the end-all, be-all in what we do, I'm so fortunate to be a part of the Black and Gray Wrestling Academy, because we've got a crop of guys who just reinforce the dream, if you will.
They always say it's the teamwork that makes a dream work, and I think that's one thing. Black and Brave, and I was talking to Chase Holiday a couple weekends ago, a recent graduate from Black and Brave, and I said, there's one thing about you guys all that I can tell, and there's a teamwork, a family connection. Once you graduate, you're not done. You're still part of the family, and you all support each other. What's in store for Jah-C in 2018? What are your goals heading into the year? We're already in February. You've already had a pretty solid January. You had a TLC match. We've got the Black and Brave tournament coming up here locally as well. Are you looking at a future trip out to Hoboken? Are you hoping to get back out to the Capitol soon?
Hey, dude, let me sum it up like this. My biggest idol is The Rock, right? The Rock is always busy. He's always got his hands in every other pot. I'm trying to do that. I want to be everywhere. I want to do everything. I want to come out with new T-shirts. I want to go to Hoboken again. I want to be a single star there more than anything. I understand the Black and Brave connection and whatnot, and that relationship that we're building. That's awesome. But I want to bring him the Jah-C show, show him what Big Match Jah is all about, and give him the star that I can be in a singles role. I want to go to freelance and continue my growth there. I'm actually going to be there on Friday, this week. We'll be in Logan Square Auditorium, freelance wrestling again, that is. We'll be in a 6-way scramble. I want to win the Black and Brave tournament, because I want to go toe-to-toe with the champion, and I want to be the champion. I want to show the people that run SCW Pro that I can be the guy. I want to I had another one here. Oh, yeah, we've got our Colt Ballroom shows that we've been running for SCW lately have just been stellar, man. I'm looking forward to continuing a main event level presence in the Colt Ballroom. I'm looking at learning more. I want to go to seminars. I want to go to Canada. 2018, I'm going to be really, really busy.
When you look at the Capitol roster, you mentioned Sonny Kiss, absolutely stellar competitor. Up and down that roster, there's a lot of interesting, talented, and unique characters on the Capitol roster. Who else besides Sonny Kiss do you want to see across the ring from you maybe in 2018?
Of course, Ronnie Burton, the rock god, the metal god himself. I want to show him what the absolute best super kick in the business is all about and what it tastes like. Also Brutal Bob Evans. I actually did a seminar with Brutal Bob, and I was fortunate enough to learn from him. And I'd really like to step into the ring with him and actually apply what it is that he taught me and show him that, I ain't dumb. I was listening.
Well, I'm already picturing Brutal Bob versus Hollywood Jah, Mr. 7 Downloads, Big Match Jah. You've got more nicknames, I think, right now than Rob Van Dam.
And what's funny is I can't wait to completely steal his title of Mr. Monday Night. I'm just going to absolutely rip it off.
Hey, I can't think of a better guy, more capable of doing that. Jah, last couple questions for you. I always like to ask people, what's your first memory of professional wrestling? I think it's always fun to find out what that sparkle, or where that spark started. What's your first memory, and how did you get into being a fan of professional wrestling?
I love that question. Actually, my first question that I ask anybody once I'm getting to know them, especially pro wrestling, is who's your favorite wrestler? That's something that I feel like that tells you so much about who they are, what they like about wrestling. But to answer your question, my first memory is probably, if I had to put something on it, I'd say it was The Rock and Chris Jericho cutting a promo. It might have even been Jericho's debut, but even prior to that memory, my mom had got a couple of VHS tapes from Best Buy. If you remember that, or not Best Buy, excuse me, Blockbuster Video.
Oh.
And it was an Undertaker VHS tape, the greatest matches of Undertaker, and then a Mankind tape. It had Cactus Jack matches against Terry Funk, a couple odd tag matches, but the Undertaker DVD had Undertaker and Shawn Michaels inside the Hell in a Cell, and I can remember watching that vividly and wanting to steal everything that they were doing, you know. I wanted to do everything that they were doing. I wanted to put on matches that level. I wanted to put on a match that made me feel how I felt once I was watching their match. But if I could level it down to one memory, my first memory was probably The Rock and Chris Jericho, running their mouths. And, it rubbed off, as you can see.
Obviously, Seth Rollins, obviously somebody probably you keep tabs on. Right now, at your level, who are you watching and who are you a fan of at this point in your career right now?
There's a guy by the name of Stevie Fierce out of Freelance, actually. I'm looking at wrestling with him. He's awesome. Stephen Wolf is actually a good friend of mine, but I'd love to wrestle with him. Myron Reed, Trey Miguel, those dudes are doing great stuff. Sage Kanan, man, he's doing his damn thing. If you're following what he does down at IWA, he's actually a good friend of one of my best friends, actually. And I want to do another match with him. Hey, if we're shooting, big here, I want to wrestle Matt Riddle. I want to wrestle Eddie Kingston. I want to wrestle Jimmy Jacobs. God, man, we had Jimmy Jacobs here at SCW just a couple of weeks ago in the Cold Ballroom. I was as happy as I was to be in the main event. I wanted even more to be in the ring with Jimmy Jacobs. He's talking about a genius. Hell, Merrick Brave needs to bring his ass out of retirement.
The Pro Wrestling Iowa Superstar of the Year, Merrick Brave, actually there. Last couple things for you, Jah. Outside of wrestling, what are your hobbies? Are you into movies and music? What kind of keeps you ticking outside of wrestling?
Movies and music, man. If you don't love them, do you have a pulse? My favorite movie right now is It. I've probably rewatched it about 3 times. All-time favorite movie is probably either Training Day or The Godfather. Love anything Dave Chappelle. Michael Jackson. I listen to a sick amount of Michael Jackson. I actually just recently also got into classic rock, like 70s, man. I just figured out what the Doors was. I'm waiting on that genre of music, man.
I'm just picturing you jamming out to like "This Is the End" right now, just listening to Jim Morrison. Right? We did have a Twitter question for you, Jah. Latance at ZadieLJ wants to know what's your favorite wrestling move.
Super kick.
It's got to be, right? You do throw one of the best super kicks in the business. Let's see here. I got tons of questions. I have so many things I want to ask if we had all the time in the world. We already asked you your goals for 2018. Anything that you personally want to achieve? Is there one specific goal? If you had to pick one thing, you listed off a bunch of companies you want to work for. Is there one specific goal that Jah-C, if nothing else happens, one thing you want to achieve in 2018?
I want to wrestle in First Avenue in Minneapolis.
That'd be great. And Minneapolis is your hometown?
Minneapolis is my hometown, sir. I rep that proudly. But if I had one thing that I wanted to do that absolutely had to happen in 2018, I have to wrestle in First Avenue.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Everybody start tweeting Eric Cannon right now and let him know.
Tweet Eric Cannon and tell him I said so.
Very good. Well, Jah, I'm going to give you the last word here. Last thoughts. The citizens of Capitol are listening. What do you want them to know?
I'm the absolute best thing going in professional wrestling today. If you don't know, you damn sure should know. My name is Jah-C. I am also known as Big Match Jah. I'm also known as Mr. 6 Downloads, Mr. 7 Downloads. I'm also Mr. All Night Long. And if you were wondering, they call me Big Match because, well, I have big matches. That's about everything that you need to know. If you have any other questions, feel free to DM me why don't you tweet me on the Twitter machine, on Instagram? Why don't you call me or shoot me a text once T-Mobile unlocks my phone?
We should shout out a big thank you to Valentina Loca for allowing you to use her cell phone tonight.
Shout out to Valentina Loca.
The Twitter handle and the Instagram handle both at Big Match Jah. That's JAH. I do want to shout that out because the announcers at Capitol were a little confused last time. I think they were calling you John C, but I think they got it right by the end of the match.
Yeah, they can call me John. They can call me John Cena if they want to give me his bank account.
Very good. Well, Jah, I want to thank you so much for being part of a historic day for me. The first episode of Capitol Wrestling Podcast that I'm doing. When I got the call to do this, I couldn't think of anybody I wanted to be my first guest other than yourself, man. And I want to wish you all the best in 2018, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back out at Capitol Auditorium in Hoboken later this year, man.
Thank you too much, Dustin. You've been great.
Hey, take care. We'll see you soon.
Live long and prosper.
All right. Well, Darnell, first one's in the bag. How do you feel we did?
I hope we did. That's good. Also, I'm very humble as well. I'm also the master of excellent. I had fun. I'm super excited about this opportunity. I'm super excited to what Marcus and Michael and Matthew are allowing us to do, and I think it's very cool to our relationship, our working relationship, Dustin, you and I, to sort of continue our I don't want to say takeover, but our next evolutionary step in
our journey
in wrestling, and especially to have it in the back of my woods, the back of my neighborhood, you know what I'm saying.
Brooklyn.
It's early, people.
I'm just humbled that I'm getting this opportunity, and I do want to thank Matthew and Marcus for believing in us, and they've listened to what we did on the Pro Wrestling Mothership every Friday on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Blueberry Podbean, the EMC Podcast Network, ProWrestlingIowa.net, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. It's a cool opportunity, and I look forward to interacting with the fans, the citizens of Capitol. Definitely follow me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Smohawk. I'd love to chat about wrestling with you, and definitely send me pictures from Capitol. I mean, I'm out here in Iowa. I hope someday I'm able to make it out to a Capitol show, but until then, I'll be tuning in every Monday on their YouTube channel for those brand new episodes. It's kind of like I'm addicted now. I got to get that fix every Monday evening.
Mondays and Tuesdays are the perfect nights for wrestling. You get so much variety from everything, and it starts off with Capitol Wrestling at 7 o'clock on Twitch and YouTube. What's the negative? Yay, more wrestling always.
Darnell, where can everybody find you on Twitter, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Slay_Wyatt, hashtag the best Twitter name ever. I know.
Make sure everybody is following Capitol Wrestling on Twitter at Capitol Wrestling. That's Capitol with an O, no G on wrestling. Make sure you like them on Facebook, Capitol Wrestling. I think same on Instagram as well. And do us a favor, if you're new to us, follow us on Twitter at the at PW Mothership. That is our podcast. Shout out our other co-host, Kevin Wilder. On that one, we talk pretty much everything in the world, progress to New Japan and all that. But here we're talking about Capitol. So until next time, citizens of Capitol, we'll see you all at Masterclass. It's Darnell's birthday. Make sure you buy him a drink. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.
Citizens of the Capitol, join us Saturday night, February 10th at the Capitol Auditorium in Hoboken as Capitol Wrestling presents Masterclass. Matthew Ryan Shapiro's Endgame Paul Jourdain takes on the Extreme Redneck. An open opportunity fatal four-way featuring Kit Osborne, KTB, Matt McIntosh, and Joe Keys. And the heavyweight division is on display as the Master of Excellence goes one-on-one with the last to die, Jeff Cannonball. Also in action, we shall see not one, but two titles defended. First, the Capitol Wrestling Sapphire Television Champion and #1 contender to the Capitol Wrestling Heavyweight title, the Colossal Mike Law, looks to retain the coveted title as he takes on the National Wrestling Alliance's very own Memfo Mofo. Will the Mofo bring home the gold to the NRA, or will Mike Law walk into Anniversary with a chance to become a double champion? And the bald bastard himself, Ken Dixon, looks to continue his history of championship violence as he takes on Eric Royal in a battle for the Capitol Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. Saturday night, February 10th at 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, it's Capitol Wrestling Presents Masterclass. For tickets and more information, go to CapitolWrestling.com.